Father of three murdered, and loved ones say it was the boyfriend of one of his daughters who shot and killed him.
On August 19th, investigators found a man named Keith Poole bleeding on a front porch off Northeast 28th Street in Pompano Beach. The 44-year-old was shot twice. 2 days later, the Broward County Sheriff's Office arrested 18-year-old LaJuan Jones Jr. for first-degree murder. Investigators say Jones ran away with his girlfriend after the shooting.
Those who knew 44-year-old Keith Poole tell me he would do absolutely anything for his three daughters. In fact, I'm told that he took his oldest daughter's boyfriend in when he had nowhere else to go. The people who loved Keith Poole say he's the kind of guy who would do anything to help someone who needed it.
He was such a people person, and everybody loved him, and just he would give the shirt off of his back for anybody. The last of a dying breed in today's world.
Bridget Donovan dated Poole on and off for more than a decade, and she says his personality was simply magnetic.
He was just very fun. He was outgoing. He lived by the moment.
But the father of three, who was adored by so many, would have his life tragically cut short.
On August 19th, 2024, 18-year-old LaJuan Jones Jr. turned what seemed to be a story of hope into one of tragedy. LaJuan, who had been welcomed into the home of 44-year-old Keith Poole, allegedly shot and killed Keith after tensions escalated over social media posts and his relationship with Keith's daughter, Jessie Poole. Despite Keith's attempts to provide LaJuan with stability and support, an argument outside the family home ended with Keith fatally wounded. Welcome to Urban Crime Stories. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on all notifications for upcoming episodes. LaJuan was born in September 2006, and his life was marked by hardship from the beginning. Growing up, he faced challenges that many of his peers could not imagine, the most significant being the loss of his parents. By the time he reached his teenage years, he was already an orphan, struggling to navigate the world alone. This experience forced him to grow up quickly, often without guidance or support, which made him vulnerable and longing for connection. Despite these challenges, LaJuan tried to make the best of his circumstances, eventually finding a glimmer of hope in an unexpected place. At 18, LaJuan began dating Jessie Poole, the 17-year-old daughter of Keith Poole, a 44-year-old father of three. When Keith learned about LaJuan and understood his situation, he felt a sense of empathy for the young man. Keith had always been a family-oriented person, and when he heard of LaJuan's circumstances, he decided to step in and help. Seeing a young man without a home or family struck a chord with Keith, who decided to open his doors to LaJuan. He welcomed LaJuan into his home, allowing him to live there and treating him as if he were one of his own children. Keith provided not only a roof over LaJuan's head, but also the emotional support that he had longed for since becoming an orphan. Keith offered him a sense of stability, a warm bed, regular meals, and a family atmosphere that LaJuan hadn't experienced for years. Over time, a strong bond formed between Keith and LaJuan. Keith became much more than just a guardian. He was a mentor, guiding LaJuan through the challenges of adulthood. Keith's willingness to invest in LaJuan's future provided the young man with a much-needed sense of direction. He helped LaJuan secure opportunities, gave him advice, and created a supportive environment that LaJuan could thrive in. The household began to function like a blended family, where LaJuan wasn't just a guest, but a part of something bigger. It appeared that LaJuan had finally found the stability he so desperately needed. However, on August 19th, 2024, everything took a dark and unexpected turn. What had seemed like a story of hope and redemption suddenly spiraled into tragedy. The sense of safety and stability that LaJuan had found in Keith's home was shattered, leaving everyone involved reeling. The events that unfolded on that day not only affected LaJuan, but also sent shockwaves through Keith and his entire family. It marked a turning point that would change their lives forever, unraveling the trust and warmth that had been carefully built over the months. The once promising future turned into a nightmare, and the home that had offered LaJuan refuge became the epicenter of something unforeseen and heartbreaking. The events of that day set the stage for painful revelations, and what began as an act of compassion ended with profound loss and unanswered questions. On the afternoon of that day, Deputies and Pompano Beach Fire and Rescue responded to a shooting call near the 1500 block of Northeast 28th Street. The call came in at approximately 4:40 p.m., and authorities rushed to the scene without delay. Upon arrival, they discovered the victim, Keith Poole, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Despite their quick response, Keith's injuries were severe. Paramedics transported him to Broward Health North, but despite their best efforts, Keith was later pronounced dead. The investigation into Keith Poole's death began immediately, and it quickly became apparent that tensions had been brewing in the household. It was alleged that Lawan had been posting content on social media that Keith disapproved of. The posts included photos of Jones with a gun, which deeply upset Keith, as he found them inappropriate and concerning. These posts eventually led to a confrontation between the two, with Keith confronting Jones about his behavior. The disagreement escalated rapidly, turning into a heated argument that culminated in tragedy. The dispute was not just about the gun-related posts. It also centered around Jones' relationship with Keith's daughter, Jessie. Keith had been supportive of Jones, treating him like family, but the inappropriate social media posts were the breaking point. The tension between the two men grew, and on that fateful day, emotions ran high. According to family members, the argument took place outside Keith's residence, where Keith's 3 children were tragically witnesses to the unfolding violence. In a matter of moments, the situation turned deadly, leaving Keith fatally wounded. After the shooting, Lawan fled the scene with Jessie, Keith's 17-year-old daughter. The pair disappeared into the chaos, leaving behind a scene of devastation. The suddenness of the incident left the family in shock, struggling to comprehend how an argument over social media posts could lead to such a horrific outcome. The sense of betrayal was palpable. Keith had opened his home to Jones, offered him stability, and treated him like a son. Now he lay dead, allegedly at the hands of the very person he had tried to help. Law enforcement immediately began their search for Lawan and Jessie. The priority was to locate the young couple, who had vanished without a trace. Authorities released a description of the pair and urged anyone with information to come forward. The community was shaken, and the search for Lawan and Jessie became urgent, as concerns mounted over Jessie's safety and the implications of what had transpired. It wasn't long before Jessie Poole was safely located and reunited with her family. Law enforcement worked swiftly to ensure her well-being, bringing some relief to her relatives amid the tragedy. 2 days after the incident, on Wednesday, August 21st, 2024, Lawan Jones eventually turned himself in to the sheriff's office. His surrender brought an end to the intense manhunt that had consumed the community in the wake of the shooting. Following his arrest, Lawan was taken to the Broward County Jail and charged with 1 count of first-degree murder with a firearm. The gravity of the charge reflected the severity of the crime, and the legal system began its process of holding Lawan accountable for the tragic death of Keith Poole. For many in the community, the turn of events was both shocking and heartbreaking. The boy that Keith had taken into his home, offering love and stability, was now accused of taking his life. As the community came to grips with what had happened, many remembered Keith Poole for the positive impact he had made on those around him.
Talking about him in the past tense, Keith was just the type of person who he would give from his whole heart.
He was a graduate of Charles Flanagan High School and had a passion for music, a love that he shared openly with friends and family. Those who knew Keith took to social media, particularly Facebook, to share their grief and pay tribute to him. They described him as a charismatic man, someone whose warmth transcended barriers. Friends of Keith remembered his ability to connect with anyone, highlighting his compassion and open-heartedness. His home had always been a place of comfort, a sanctuary not only for his own children, but also for others like Lawan, who needed a second chance. Keith's willingness to extend help was what defined him for so many. He had opened his doors, his heart, and his life to a young man in need, embodying the spirit of empathy and kindness that the community deeply admired. Lawan Jones faces a single count of first-degree murder with a firearm, and his future will be determined in the courts. While the legal process unfolds, the emotional scars left behind are already etched into the lives of those who knew Keith. In a matter of moments, everything changed, and the impact of that day continues to ripple through the lives of Keith's family, friends, and community. What are your thoughts about this tragic story? Please share your comments in the comments down below. Remember, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel so that you will not miss upcoming episodes. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you with another episode of Urban Crime Stories.